Hey everyone, today I'm going to be taking a look at the current roster of killers and discussing whether each needs a buff, a nerf, or a rework at the moment, and then suggesting a change to be made. I'm going to quickfire. As always, drop your own thoughts down below. Let's get into it. Trapper I think needs a buff. Nice and simple, I just think his add-on, Trapper Sack, should be base kit. Only you should be able to pick up traps again. You should just start with all the traps, I think, basically. Wraith I think needs a buff. I would like him to be faster in cloak, maybe a good 10 to 15% extra. Hillbilly I think needs a buff. I would really love to see his cooldown after colliding with an object to be toned down by quite a bit, as well as the cooldown after ending a chainsaw sprint. Allow him to retain more momentum. Nurse I think needs a nerf. This is gonna seem mean, but I think her light burn needs to be made easier to hit. I think when charging her blinks, you should have maybe a double the speed light burn from the current. I think that would be funny. Myers I think needs a rework. Small rework, and an idea I had from another video, but basically when a survivor has been fully drained of stalk, you can Mori them. I think that's a cool idea, and kind of lore-fitting too. Hag I think needs a rework. I think she needs a sizable change, to be honest. She has barely changed since her release in 2016. I would like to see her get some kind of trade-off for teleport distance and trap number. I think reduce her traps by 4 and uncap her teleport range, and make her into more of a map-wide teleport and jump scare character, rather than an oppressive area defense one. Doctor I think needs a buff. I would like to see Doctor get the Wesker treatment and have a 40-meter terror radius. I think it would work very well with his power. Huntress and Trickster I want to pair up with their similar powers. I think this as a small change could be interesting, but basically I think they should have some kind of regen mechanic for their throwables. For example, every 60 seconds Huntress gets a hatchet back, and every 10 seconds Trickster gets a blade. Bubba I think needs a buff. Nice and simple, I would like to very marginally increase his chainsaw charge speed and move speed. I think his tantrum should also inflict some kind of debuff to nearby survivors, like hindered or oblivious or something like that. Freddy I think needs a rework. His power is really boring at the moment, I think. Something as simple as merging pallets with snares into a singular power would be a good start, I think. I would love to see further additions though of fake dream objects in the dream world, like fake hex totems, generators, sounds and more, similar to Doctor's hallucinations. The dream world needs to feel more spooky and ominous, not just regular gameplay with a filter and a different terror radius. Pig I think needs a buff. There's a surprise. The main thing I'd like buffed is her stealth and ambush. I think faster crouch, crouch movement, ambush charge speed, and ambush speed are all things she should get. Make her stealth and stealth attacks a little scarier. Clown I think needs a rework, specifically to his yellow bottles. I really dislike how they work. I think they should instantly spawn the cloud rather than having a delay, and I think a different delivery method for them would be better. There have been suggestions I've heard of things like drinking the bottle, which I think is a better idea also. Spirit I think needs a buff. Might be a bit of a surprise, but I actually think Spirit needs a bit of help. I think after exiting her phase, she should get a slightly longer burst of speed, 1.5 seconds up from 1. Help out her anti-loop chase, and give a bit more kick for survivors who only have W keys. Legion I think needs a nerf. I think deep wounds should be able to be healed quicker when afflicted by Feral Frenzy, making it 8 seconds at base, and closer to 5 seconds for altruistic healing. Plague I think needs a buff. I think with many of the more recent maps being quite close and confined, she could use a very slight buff to her vomit charge speed, basically making her rubbing oil base kit. Ghostface I think needs a buff. I think his power downtime can still be too significant. I think changing it from 24 seconds to 20 is a bit nicer. Oni I think needs a buff. His passive power regen is super slow at the moment. I would love if it could be buffed even a little bit. It takes around 8 minutes at the moment. I think halving that would be fine. Deathslinger, Executioner and Demogorgon I also want to group up. I think they need a rework. Specifically, I would love to see them get a near complete add-on overhaul. Their add-ons are absolutely horrendous. and they need some serious buffs. In general, they just need to be more engaging and interesting, I think. Blight, I think, needs a nerf. His add-ons are beyond busted currently. Blighted Crow and Rat should have their numbers halved. Alchemist Ring should return half the tokens maybe, and so on. I just think they need a looking at. Twins, I think, need a rework. I think with the new pathing AI from the Knight, it would be cool to have the twins able to patrol areas when you aren't controlling them, if you choose, allowing you to better herd survivors with the two characters. Maybe walking nearby one of the idle twins, they awake, and AI begins chase, until you return control. Something like that. Nemesis, I think, needs a rework. I think a bit like the Knight's Ghost Gang members, it could be cool if there was a way to command the zombies somehow, and get them to patrol certain areas. Not as specific as the Knight's control, but more of a general thing, where you can send the zombies off to a direction or area, and they'll plod their way over. It would make them less random and buggy, I think. Cenobite, I think, needs a buff. This one is going to seem crazy maybe, but I would like his chain shot to not have a duration. I want to be able to fire the chain and stay within it for as long as possible. Make it into more of a surveillance tool. Artist, I think, needs a rework. I think it would be cool if she had some kind of spread attack, where she could instantly spawn all 3 crows, and fire them out in front of her in a cone shape. Just an alternate and less precise but quicker method of using the crows. Sadako, I think, needs a rework. I think maybe something like altering her condemned mechanic to be more of a progressive debuff system. Each bar you receive a small debuff as survivor, until you are Moriable at 7 bars. This would greatly encourage more engagement with the mechanic. Maybe a similar system to Pentamento's debuffs, just scaled down slightly. Dredge, I think, needs a nerf. I specifically want to nerf Nightfall. I think it's way too dark, and I'd like to see it be made into more of a visual block for long distance, but still clear in close proximity. Wesker, I think, needs a rework. This one is going to sound really weird, but basically I think it would be a cool mechanic if when you throw survivors downward from a higher elevation to a lower, they get put into the dying state, instead of injured or infected. Or maybe even a system where if you throw them the longest distance, they get instantly downed. I don't know, something like that. I want to reward like really good throws. Knight, I think, needs a buff. I think being able to pick which ghosts to use would be a great benefit, being able to cycle through them. However, there being a restriction of needing to use them all eventually. So each time you pick a specific one, you then have to use the others before you can use the chosen one again, if that makes sense. Okay, that's gonna do it. I'm excited to see all of your suggestions down in the comments too. I really love doing this kind of stuff. So I hope you like it too. Thanks, and okay, bye!